This is the TAG Heuer Night Diver. If you don't already have a strong opinion about this watch, I hope you do by the end of this video. I think this is a polarizing watch, and I think that's a good thing. A huge thanks to Brian, Wound Too Tight on Instagram, for loaning me this watch. Brian generously volunteered his new baby for this review. If you think you might have a watch that I might like to review, hit me up. I'll probably return it when I'm done. This night diver was announced only a few months ago, but it came with a history. In 1984, Heuer released a group of quartz dive watches as part of the Professional 1000 series. What they had in common was that they were all dive watches and that they had fully luminous dials, meaning dials covered with a glow-in-the-dark substance. At the time, that substance was tritium, a radioactive isotope of hydrogen, which I'm sure it's safe, don't worry about it. The black PVD watch from the 1984 series was even featured on the wrist of 007 in the 1987 James Bond film The Living Daylights. In the film, Bond kills a bad guy very, very slowly with the radiation from his tritium watch dial. Or maybe not. More than 30 years went by without a new night diver watch, until TAG Heuer released a quartz-powered titanium version in 2018. And then this night diver came out in late 2021. This is the first ever mechanical TAG Heuer Night Diver. Technically, this is called the WBP201D Aquaracer Professional 300, but, you know, Night Diver. As a 2021 Aquaracer, the watch has most of the elements shared with the newest line of Aquaracer watches. It's 43mm across, 12.5mm thick, and 50mm long. It has a steel case and a ceramic insert in the 60-click, 12-sided bezel. It's a dodecagon. Got it in one. The watch has 300 meters of water resistance and weighs 140 grams on the rubber strap. The cost of the Night Diver is $3,350. Where this watch differs from the other current Aquaracer watches is that the steel case has a matte black DLC treatment. It comes on a rubber strap rather than a bracelet, and of course it has the full lume Night Diver dial. So instead of just the hands and markers being filled with luminous material, like on most other dive watches, the entire dial is covered in a glowing green superluminova. The dial and hour hand are green and the minute hand, seconds hand, and triangle glow blue. Theoretically, that makes them easier for timing dives, just focus on the blue things. In daylight, all of the luminous elements look white with just a hint of mint. You can't really tell that this thing turns into a disco after hours. A full lume dial is a trick. It's a gimmick, no doubt. But you know, so are mechanical watches these days. Let's stop pretending that these are tools and start accepting the fact that we like mechanical watches because they're fun. And that's how I interpret this Night Diver, as being honest about the fact that it's a toy for large children. And I fully acknowledge, I am a large child. How large? Large enough to have an 18 centimeter wrist circumference, and on my wrist the Night Diver wears really well. This is a big watch, and at 140 grams it's got some heft. But for being 43mm across, 12.5mm thick is pretty thin actually, and it helps a lot with wearability. The challenging dimension for most is going to be the 50mm length. I'd recommend this for wrists 6.5 inches or larger, that's 16.5 centimeters. But the rubber strap does angle down sharply, so it will hug smaller wrists. The strap is the type that needs to be cut to the correct length. That makes me a little nervous. But even if you're a measure once, cut twice kind of person, there's room for error. The Night Diver uses the new long Aquaracer clasp. It's long because it has a really handy adjustment system. Squeezing the buttons on each side of the clasp lets you move the strap to any one of 6 adjustment spots, over a total of 12mm. I love it. My only improvement would be to make it easier to adjust without removing the watch first from your wrist. As is, you kinda need to take it off to adjust it. But overall, this is a very good system and makes this one of the more comfortable dive watches I've tried recently. What's polarizing about this watch certainly isn't the strap, the clasp, or even the lume dial. It's a few unusual design elements. First off, this is a high contrast watch. A white dial in a black case surrounded by a black bezel. It's intense. Too intense for some, and about as stylistically versatile as black cargo pants. Then there are the shapes. The 12-sided bezel, which is kinda mirrored by the fully black octagonal markers. Because the dial is fully loomed and white, the small markers are applied and just black. They have no lume, they don't really need it. They're highly legible both in and out of light, but they are a little strange. And then there's probably the most polarizing element of all, the date magnifier, the Cyclops. The 2021 Aquaracer Cyclops is unlike any I've seen before. Instead of being glued on the top of the crystal like on a Rolex or on the previous Aquaracers, this magnifier is either under the crystal or somehow built into it. The result is that the crystal is perfectly smooth from the outside. As far as Cyclopses go, this is pretty good, and I definitely like that the date is at 6 o'clock. But is the magnifier even needed at all? I kinda think it isn't. I'm willing to squint for the one time a day that I actually need to read the date on a watch. Inside the Night Diver is the TAG Heuer Caliber 5. The Caliber 5 can be either an ETA 2824 or a Sellita SW200. I know from personal experience that IWC is similarly vague about some of their off-the-shelf movements. One way to tell which movement you have is by reading the joule count engraved on the movement. 25 joules for ETA, 26 for Sellita. Whichever is in this specific watch, it's running about plus 3 seconds per day, which is good enough that nobody should care if this engine is from Sellita or ETA. I like this watch. It's bold, it's comfortable, it's definitely fun. I also like the scratch resistance of a DLC treatment on the case and clasp. I personally would prefer to see this in a slightly smaller size, 40mm or maybe 41, but I know that the masses still want large watches. I also know that overthinking collectors like me make up but a microscopic atom in the universe of the TAG Heuer market. They should do whatever sells the most watches. When I first posted a photo of the Night Diver on Instagram, I got a lot of comments and messages about it. Some people love it, and some people don't love it. Like I said, it's a polarizing watch, and that's a good thing. I say be interesting, be controversial, be unusual. Just don't be boring. I often have more respect for a watch that I actively dislike than for a watch I'm indifferent about. And it just so happens that this unusual watch is one that I actually like.